Chapter 26. Escape. The Aldrington Care Centre's newest resident was a 4-year-old lad named Carl. He'd arrived the night before, sporting ragged clothes, a swollen right eye, and a layer of filth. After a thorough scrubbing, a night's sleep, and a morning being interviewed by police, Carl was allowed to explore his temporary home and found Lauren killing time on the PlayStation in the living room. She felt sorry for the gloomy youngster and was happy to break the monotony by entertaining him. After some games of Snap and a few laps chasing around the sofa, they put on coats and gloves and headed to the play area outside the unit. The young lad clearly hadn't spent much of his short life in playgrounds and got ridiculously excited, screaming and laughing as he bounced on the seesaw and begged Lauren to push faster on the swings and roundabout. She was following him up the steps of a slide when her mobile rang. She didn't recognize the number on the display, but the call was coming from Britain. "Hello, are you Anna's friend?" the man asked. He spoke in Russian, but it wasn't Mr. Brauschka, and there was a lot of background noise, like he was travelling in a car or train. "I am," Lauren said, "but she's not here. She's at school." Carl slid down as Lauren sat at the top of the metal ramp. "That doesn't matter," the man said. "I wanted to talk to you anyway." "Me? What about?" "Anna won't talk to us. We'd really like to speak to her. She's got it into her head that we want to hurt her, but she's mixed up. We're her people. She needs to be with us." Lauren heard a second voice, speaking in English away from the phone. "Got it. Sorry to trouble you," the first speaker said abruptly. "I've got to go now. I'll call back later when Anna's out of school." The phone went dead before Lauren could answer. "Come down!" Carl demanded as he looked up at her from the base of the slide. Lauren pushed herself off, but her phone was ringing again before she'd reached the bottom. "Lauren," John said urgently, "we've got a big problem. A tracking request was sent during your call, and the local cell responded just before they hung up." "You mean those guys know where I am?" "They know which radio cell your phone is operating within, so only to within a couple of kilometers," John explained, as Carl balanced himself on Lauren's trainer. "It's more primitive than the triangulation system that we can use to track mobiles." Lauren patted the youngster on the head. "Play on your own for a minute, Carl." "Who's that?" John asked. "Just a little kid I was messing about with." "How do they trace my phone?" "Probably through an online location service. You're supposed to have permission from the person who owns the phone, like for parents who want to track where their kids are, but you can usually get around it by making a false declaration when you sign up." "At least they can only pinpoint us to within a 2-kilometer radius." "But they know you're in a children's home," John explained. "All they've got to do is look up children's homes in a local services directory. I'm not sure, but ACC is probably the only one around here." "Do you think they're coming after Anna?" Lauren gasped. "Definitely," John said. "Why else would they try and trace the call?" Lauren looked at her watch. "She'll be coming out of school in under half an hour." "A23, John said. Lauren was confused. "Hey?" "Sorry, I've asked the campus control room to put a trace on the mobile phone that called you. The Russian signal has jumped 2 kilometers in 2 minutes, so my guess is that they're on the fast road into Brighton." "How come they're so close already?" "They knew Anna was picked up on the coast a few kilometers from here. She was bound to be somewhere in the Brighton area." How long till they reach us? 15 or 20 minutes, John said, depending upon the traffic and how long it takes them to track down the care homes. Do you think they'll try snatching Anna straight away? Snatching her from inside the home is too risky. They'll either try picking her up shortly on her way home or on her way to school tomorrow morning. The car just moved about 1 kilometre west. Looks as if they've turned onto the A27 and they're not hanging about. So what do we do? Lauren asked. Can we get the police here to protect her? We can't get the local plods involved without blowing our cover and a lot of long-winded explanations. In the longer term, we can either get Anna moved to another home, or I can have an MI5 surveillance team out here by tomorrow morning. But if they're planning on scooping her up now, it's down to you and me. Lauren realised that she had to start preparing. Carl, I'm going inside, she yelled as she dashed towards her unit. Carl screamed and ran after Lauren, but she didn't have time to listen. Where are you, John? She asked as she bolted up the stairs. On the way out of my room, John said. I'm taking the car. I'll be outside the ACC's front gate within 10 minutes. Lauren was relieved to hear that John would get there before the baddies. She raced into her room, shut her door, and grabbed her case from the wardrobe under the bed. After lifting out a stack of clothes, she found the hidden catch. A flap opened up, revealing a few pieces of emergency equipment. Lauren pocketed a small can of pepper spray and pulled down her leggings before strapping a concealed knife to her thigh. Young lady, a man said stiffly as he burst into the room. Lauren jumped with fright as she straightened her clothes. Haven't you heard of knocking? She demanded. I'm undressing here. It was Ronald, one of the house parents. What's going on with Carl? He asked. I dunno, Lauren said, mystified. You were outside playing with him. Then you stormed off and locked him out in the dark. Oh, Lauren gasped. She'd forgotten that the front door had a catch that locked if you shoved it hard. Sorry. That's not a very respectful way to treat one of our youngest guests, Lauren. He's a vulnerable human being, not a toy that you can abandon in a dark playground the instant you get fed up with him. I'm sorry, Lauren repeated as she pointed at the open phone on her bed. I got excited. My best mate just rang me. Well, don't do it again. Lauren flicked Ronald off as he closed the door behind himself. She grabbed her phone off the desk. John was still on the line. I know where Anna gets off the bus from school, Lauren said. I'll wait at the end of the street. I should be able to get to her before she's inside of ACC. I'll tell her that I'm treating her to a burger or something. 20 minutes later, Lauren stood nervously on a dark street corner as the kids started to filter down from the main road in their school uniforms. John had parked up outside ACC's main gate and was keeping a suspicious eye out for any car with 2 men inside it. The wind was bitter. Lauren started getting paranoid when it got to 10 minutes past 4. Finally, she looked down the main road and saw Anna stepping off a double-decker bus. Hey, Lauren said, smiling with relief. You're late today. I have special English class at the Learning Support Unit in town. What are you doing out here? It's freezing. I had another call from your Russian friends, Lauren explained. They said they knew you were here and that they're coming to get you. You're joking, Anna said as she glanced around nervously. How can they know? I don't know, Lauren lied. But they do. You haven't told anyone else about this, have you? No, Lauren said. But I'm worried sick. I think we'll have to tell someone. They could grab you off the street. I came out here because for all we know, they're waiting outside the ACC gates right now. What can we do? I've got 20 quid, Lauren said. The longer we stand around here, the more chance that they'll spot us. We'll find a McDonald's or somewhere warm and think everything through. I guess, Anna said as she spun around. Lauren's phone rang as they started walking. It was John. Pretend like you're speaking to your best friend, he said. Hi, Bethany, Lauren said enthusiastically. I've thought it through, John said. I've had a good look around and I can't see the bad guys. But the mobile phone signal says they're less than 300 meters away. Head for the cafe on the corner. I'll be your social worker, same as when you arrived on Sunday. When I come in, you tell Anna that you got scared and told me what was going on. I'll tell her that she can have full British citizenship and protection if she tells us everything she knows. Can you do that? Lauren asked. I had a word with Zara. She says the easiest thing is to fill in the paperwork as if we're recruiting Anna into Cherub. Then we'll reject her application and send her out for adoption. What if we kept the item? Lauren was trying not to let Anna tag on to the conversation. Fortunately, she didn't speak much English anyway. I considered that, John said. You said Anna's bright, but she's 12 already, and there's not much of her. By the time we've taught her enough English to get through basic training and toughened her up a bit, she'd be too old. That's a shame, Lauren sighed. I would have loved to come to your birthday party. I won't be able to park on the main road, John said, so I'll be walking right behind you. I've got a gun, just in case they show their faces. I'll send you a nice card, Lauren said. Speak soon. Bye. Who was that? Anna asked, as Lauren pocketed her phone. Mate of mine, Lauren explained, switching back to Russian. Wanted me to go to her party, but didn't realise that I'd moved down here. Pity, Anna said. Lauren pointed out the cafe on the opposite corner. We can cross over and go in there. They do nice cakes. They were approaching the no parking zone leading up to a pedestrian crossing when a battered Toyota saloon screeched to a halt alongside them. Lauren turned and saw two burly men staring right at her. Run! She screamed, giving Anna a shove as the back of the car opened and a Reebok trainer stepped into the gutter. To Lauren's horror, Anna only managed 2 steps before the momentum from the push sent her sprawling across the pavement. Realizing that Anna wouldn't be able to outrun 2 grown men, Lauren went on the offensive. As the man in the Reebok stood up, Lauren charged forward and kicked him in the balls. He crumpled over as she slammed her palm into his solar plexus, punched him in the face, and crunched his arm in the car door. Meanwhile, the driver stepped into the road, sprinted around the car, and grabbed Anna off the pavement. He shouted to Lauren in English, "Hey, little girl!" Lauren caught the light glinting from the saw-toothed blade at Anna's throat. "Get in the car, or I cut her head off." Lauren looked over her shoulder, but there was no sign of John. A woman screamed, "Hey!" from the opposite side of the road as her buggy-pushing friend dialed the police on her mobile. The man Lauren had beaten groaned as he grabbed the car door and used it to lever himself out of the gutter. Meanwhile, his knife-wielding companion bundled Anna into the front passenger seat. Once the knife was away from Anna's throat, Lauren considered going back on the attack, but within a second, she had a gun pressed against her temple. "Little bitch," the bloody-nosed man spat as he grabbed Lauren's jacket and thrust her inside the car. Lauren ended up straddling the back seat, and the man sat on her, crushing her legs as he pulled shut the rear door. As the driver slammed his door and dropped the handbrake, his companion shoved Lauren's legs from beneath him before banging her head against the door trim and cracking his hand across her face. "Kick me in the balls, eh?" he shouted as Lauren collapsed across her seat. "You wait till we arrive. Then I'll show you who's boss." "What the hell happened?" the driver said as the car sped away. "It was supposed to be fast and clinical." "This one came at me," his bloody-faced companion answered as he stared Lauren down. "Abby will go nuts. Half a dozen people saw us. We're gonna end up with the cops on our tail. And you know what it's like with kids. It'll probably end up on the news." "Don't blame me, asshole. You told me it was one skinny little girl. You didn't mention that she had Bruce Lee's kid sister for a bodyguard." The tires squealed as they took a sharp right turn. Anna was sobbing hopelessly in the front passenger seat. "Do you think they got our number plate?" the driver asked. "We were parked there for over a minute. You can bet somebody did." "Call someone and get them to pick us up in another car. We've got to ditch this crate as soon as..." As her captors argued, Lauren felt inside her jacket. She still had her mobile phone, which meant that John would be able to track her. The only trouble was, they'd probably search her and confiscate it as soon as they had time to think straight. So she slipped it out of her pocket and pushed it down the back of her knickers between the cheeks of her bum. It made sitting uncomfortable, and it wasn't a nice way to treat a new phone, but they'd be unlikely to find it on a casual search of her pockets.